My name is Yanis, and I am in a variety of places, including, but not limited to, the University of Westminster, the Open University, the University of London. And if you want to know more about me, then you can scan the QR code that you've got currently on the screen. That is the silliest way I could think of to present some information about myself. So what happens when you try and access that link is that you're going to get a video of ChatGPT roasting me on the basis of all the discussions that I had with ChatGPT. This is not going to be your standard presentation on AI, right? I hope nobody was expecting a traditional presentation on AI. The reason is that we've all sat through so many presentations where people are telling us the same things. So I'm not here to tell you things that you already know. I am here to give you something different and something concrete. I've been trying to do this. Some of the presentations I give on this are to legal professionals. And in fact, everybody is quite sick of hearing about the potential of AI and the possibilities or the challenges, perhaps. But very few people actually go ahead and give us practical applications and examples of what we can do right now. Is that I want to talk about 4 distinct problems that our students have or that we have, and then to talk about 4 potential distinct solutions that AI tools can give us. So we're going to deal with these concrete problems and talk about concrete solutions to those problems, and then have as to whether we can actually implement those solutions that make our lives and the lives of our students better. Let's start dealing with the 4 problems that our students are facing, and then think about how these new tools that we have available might actually help us resolve them. Now, problem number 1. I don't know if this ever happens to you guys, but I deal with a lot of sleeping students. Not only on remote seminars like this one, not only on the on-live events, but even in the events we're actually having together in class. Quite a lot of people, and myself, are experiencing this struggle with student disengagement. And I'm not talking about the people who don't turn up for class. I'm talking about the people who do turn up for class, but when they're in the class, they pick up their phones and they go through their Instagram feed, or they're doing their Amazon shopping, or some of them in the big lecture theaters are even watching Netflix while somebody is delivering a class down the street. One of the reasons, or one of the potential explanations as to why students are disengaged in the particular setting of the class, is that maybe the way that we try to deliver content to them doesn't really resonate with them, and it doesn't look very real. I know that pretty much all of us have moved away from a pattern of delivery that is the traditional passive lecture. So not many universities anymore use the big lecture theaters in order to deliver content to the students. The reason is that this is boring. It doesn't actually engage the audience. It's very easy for people to disconnect and do something else. And it is not a great use of anybody's time, really, especially when you could deliver the same content through a pre-recorded presentation or a nice video. We all understand this. So we try to bring people into smaller group sessions, seminar and tutorial type sessions. But even when they are within those sessions, they still seem disengaged. This could be happening because even though we try to do a lot of things, and there's a great deal of literature on kind of flipped classrooms and group work and getting the students to take initiative and ownership, it could be that the way in which the content is designed and delivered is still too remote. In law, because I'm a law lecturer, in law, we deal with a lot of what we consider to be real-life practical situations. We deal with all these practical problems. A and B are trying to do some sort of deal and they get into an argument, or there is some sort of criminal activity and then we have to advise the defendant, stuff along those lines. those are presented in a fairly stylistic way that tends to be quite dry. And perhaps that's how students manage to disengage and not pay particular attention, or to be distracted by something else like their phone and their notifications. So that's the problem. What is the possible solution that an AI tool can provide? I have been playing around with streaming avatars. These are AI produced interactive avatars that look like people, that don't look like animations. So you can take a video of me right now, or you can take a pre-prepared video of somebody else, and then the AI animates that video and makes it look like a real person talking, moving, presenting. If you want an example of this, you can scan the QR code you've got on your screen right now for a little experiment that I ran with one of those interactive avatars. So the whole idea of the streaming avatar is that you can have something that talks like a person, reacts like a person, and can think for itself in real time. So what I've done in the experiment that I have put in this video that you can see through the QR code on your screen, I instructed an avatar with the information that I had for the problem question we were addressing in the seminar in that day. So the students were following a case study with a guy called Ryan. And Ryan got into an accident. And now Ryan, having recovered from the accident, is in the process of a legal dispute with the people who caused the accident. I thought I will bring the avatar in class and get it to talk to the students. So the students, instead of wondering what happened, instead of wondering about the facts or trying to imagine what might possibly be happening or ask the tutor for advice, they can actually, in real time, interview the client. So for a lawyer, imagine, this makes things a lot more realistic and a lot more relevant, that you can have somebody that you can actually ask questions. You can draw out the factual basis on which you can then build your legal advice. And it worked. It worked spectacularly well. I mean, I was surprised myself because I have talked to the live avatars on Zoom calls and stuff like that in the past, but I never had them into a multi-person environment. The avatar was projected on the screen that the students see in the tutorial room. There were about 15 students in the tutorial room. The students had the capacity to speak in real terms to the avatar. The avatar would listen to the question and then had the capacity to respond orally directly to the student. And this was a free-flowing conversation. Now, what this did is that it forced the students to step away from the phone, from their notes, from the laptops, for anything that they had, and actually interact with the activity in real time. This is not something that can be, well, you could probably achieve it by bringing an actor in or somebody else to pretend to be the person in this discussion. But it's something that is very difficult to achieve on a regular basis in your traditional tutorial or seminar. And having the avatar as the real subject of this inquiry was a lot more powerful than me pretending to be the person in that problem question. I thought that the integration of this technology was a way to address the problem of disengagement in class by offering students something that both looks spectacular and surprising, but even if you've done this a few times, if you overcome the surprising element, it is still something that offers a level of interactivity that can spice up your questions and enliven the in-class experience in ways that could not be achieved before. And this is also a repeatable experience. So every seminar, we come back and we progress the story of Ryan. So I could bring back the avatar for every class to build onto the story. Now, if you're wondering, how can the avatar talk and think for itself and respond in real time in a relevant sense, the answer is that the avatar is powered by ChatGPT in the background. I mean, you could select different LLMs, but the current one was built on ChatGPT. So it has the capacity to interpret the questions that the students are asking and then think of itself on the basis of the knowledge base it has been provided with, but also by checking on the web and thinking what would be an appropriate response. This is what enabled the avatar to actually progress the discussion beyond the knowledge base in which it had been provided, and it actually offered a meaningful, understandable discussion. Do we have a problem with student disengagement? I think we do. At least some of us do. Hopefully not everybody, but probably a great deal of you do. Can the AI tools offer some solution to this? Yes, they can. One practical example and application of this is the interactive streaming avatar that can disrupt the normal flow of a class and make people see and interact with something different in a way that breaks them away from the normal habit of falling asleep at the back of the classroom while the tutor is trying to talk. From a technical point of view, this wasn't really that complicated. A projection of the streaming avatar through its own platform. I didn't even need to integrate it into Blackboard or the VLE. I just ran it from the platform of the provider, who is, by the way, Heygen. So this is problem number one and solution number one. Let's move on to problem number two. Problem number two. We make a great deal of educational content that we upload on the VLE. Unfortunately, not everybody uses this. In some extreme cases, almost nobody uses this. Students do not use the educational content that we upload for them. We spend a lot of time producing audio content, producing videos, producing slides, producing multiple choice questions, producing lecture notes, producing handouts, producing whatever you can think of. We upload all these things on Blackboard or or Canva or the VLE that the university is using. Then, if we are minded to, we check download and usage and access statistics, and we get nothing. Some of the technologies we have available to increase usage and engagement with educational content that is meant to be used in an asynchronous manner. The stuff that the students are meant to do themselves as homework that we put on the VLE. My suggestion here is that we can use the AI tools we have available to produce more engaging educational content with significant ease. It is now a lot easier to offer cartoons, animations, podcasts, do audio and video editing than it was in the past. And perhaps one of the reasons why students do not make great use of what we think is very useful educational content is because the packaging of it is fairly poor. For example, we are currently giving our undergraduate first-year law students a great deal of pre-recorded content because we don't deliver traditional amphitheater lecture experiences anymore. So we give them these PowerPoints that are narrated PowerPoints. So you play through the slides, and then there's an audio file attached to each slide that plays along. Usage of this is very, very, very low. I think one of the reasons is that the students just don't like the idea of a set of slides. Because these are students who spend their day on YouTube, where they watch nicely produced videos. They spend their time scrolling through Instagram and TikTok, where they see stuff that are either extremely animated and fast and engaging or very well produced, or they show them stuff that they are, insanely interested in. Now, we cannot really become top Instagrammers, and we cannot reduce, and we don't want to reduce the content that we're delivering into kind of half a minute clips so people can scroll through it. Trust me, I tried. It didn't work. But what we can do is that we can improve the quality of what we're putting together and transition away from fairly static sets of slides, lecture notes, and these horrible panopto captures of live recordings. I've got an example here on the screen that you can scan and see for yourselves. I have turned my multiple choice questions into cartoons. I have used AI voices to narrate the questions and the answers, and I have used AI generated avatars in cartoon formats to actually play around and discuss this. So I've tried to turn it into a bit of a game. So I thought I will try like a game show format for the presentation of those questions, and then see what happens. So we've got, instead of an audio presentation or a lecture capture, we've got the same content delivered in the form of a discussion. Equally, you can use tools that are available now to take your educational content and produce it in the form of a podcast when this is narrated by multiple hosts. Probably you guys have heard of Notebook LM, which is Google's new tool. So this is one of the AI assistants that are now becoming available for general use. The idea behind an AI assistant is that you can provide it with your documentation and your information, and then you can ask it to perform tasks. For instance, with Google's tool, you can upload your lecture notes, your handouts, your textbooks, for that matter. You can upload the entire book, video recordings, audio recordings, link up to websites, link up to blogs, link up to your own YouTube videos or somebody else's for that matter. And then you can ask, offer a summary of this area, or explain to me all of these resources are talking about this topic. Explain this to me, or write a briefing paper, or on the basis of all this information, ask a set of specific questions, or even create a set of frequently asked questions on these areas. It can do all this, and it does all this at fairly good standard. On top, and I think they did this for fun and they didn't anticipate that it was going to be popular, but in fact, it's become the kind of headline feature of the tool. It can create an audio podcast. So it sucks up all the documentation that you're providing, and it can then create a text that is narrated in really wonderful, natural, albeit American-sounding voices, where the two hosts are discussing the topic in the form of a podcast. And it is absolutely fantastic. So my baseline assumption is that those students of yours that are resistant to downloading a PowerPoint slide and reading through it, or clicking and listening to a lecture capture video, or reading your lecture notes, they're more likely to engage with something that is gamified, something that presents the information in the form of an animation or a cartoon, or something that presents the information in the form of a podcast, or something that is lively, something that approximates what they access for entertainment. And I think this is an important link. We are used to have a distinction between stuff that the students do for fun, stuff that the students do seriously, and we struggle to get them to do the stuff that are meant to be serious. So I'm not saying that we become silly, but what I'm saying is if we adopt the format of the entertaining to deliver the serious content, maybe we got better chances of bridging that gap. So that's the idea. How do you address the problem of students not using your uploaded educational content? Potential answer is make it different make it better with the use of AI tools that we have available. But one thing, though, is the quality of my resource improving? So hopefully, if you've seen me talk about similar things last year, then the videos this year should be a lot better. If they're not, then we have a problem. Talking about problem, let's try problem number 3. Problem number 3, students don't do well in assessments. Okay, now, maybe the reason why students don't do well in assessments is problems number 1 and problem number 2. So if the students are disengaged in class and they don't pay attention, and if they don't use the educational content that we share with them, then clearly they don't have the knowledge or the skills or the tools in order to perform well. Right. Now, what can we do about this? I mean, there's lots of things. I bet you sit in meetings all day long talking about the same stuff. But what can we do about this in the context of AI tools that can help? Now, this is where we might get into areas that you've seen discussed before. Your students can use the AI tools to achieve things that are difficult. For instance, peer support, formative assignments, feedback that is individualized on the students' ongoing efforts. This is something that we struggle to deliver. We offer students a single formative opportunity for every summative assessment. Maybe this is not enough. Maybe the students do not take the opportunity to submit this formative because it is a one-off. We could use the AI tools to offer formative opportunities on an ongoing basis. You can connect to ChatGPT, offer it samples of your work, and ask for advice. And I think here it is us that have the problem, not the students. The students have been keen to use the technology from day one. This stuff became available a couple of years ago, right? The students knew about this straight away because they're on top of the technology and they understand things. They're younger than us, potentially. They understand things a lot faster than we do. Our initial reaction was a reaction of fear. It's like, whoops, they're going to use ChatGPT to write their essays. We should prevent them from doing this. And we all kind of scrambled to get together and write policy statements, include statements about plagiarism and authenticity, make AI declarations, stick all that stuff into our plagiarism information on our websites. This was the wrong way to go about this, because we should have recognized the opportunity that this presented for peer support and formative assessment and ongoing learning from the perspective of the student. It is a wonderful tool to offer your work, your understanding of your work, your understanding of the concepts, and debate this with the technology. And it has the capability to do this very well now. If anything, you don't even need to type stuff anymore. You can have ChatGPT on your phone and you can talk to it and it talks back to you in real time. And a lot of the other tools are offering a similar experience. If we integrate this into the way that we deliver our teaching, and if we're able to discuss with our students more openly about this as a possibility, I think this will unlock areas for improvement and possibilities for improvement that we haven't yet gotten into. I am trying to do this by encouraging the students to upload their work on ChatGPT and then interact with it and see what it says. I advise them to take the module handbook, the assessment instructions, feed all that, offer background as to what they're trying to do, and then offer a sample of their work and ask ChatGPT to mark it. And I've done this. I've got some videos on my YouTube channel explaining how to do this and discussing the results. I think this is a great opportunity. The students have difficulty talking with each other. Some people can do study groups that they can support each other, read each other's work, and so on. Most of them don't. So for those that are a bit isolated, that they don't have the friends, they don't have the peer support, they don't have perhaps the confidence to go to their tutor and ask questions, ChatGPT is a safe friend that is sitting there on your phone, that at any given time can give you feedback and advise you on your performance. Now, as I'm saying this, you're probably all thinking, whoa, that is a dangerous thing to do because ChatGPT gets stuff wrong and is going to tell students nonsense. Go on, hands up. Who's thinking this? Who was thinking just now that what Yanis is telling us is nonsense because ChatGPT is just going to tell the students nonsense and is going to make things worse? Surely somebody. Two things. First of all, the AI that most of the time we're talking about is not the AI of today, is the AI of 2 years ago. I've sat through numerous presentations where people are presenting their research and their evaluations of tools. This research and these evaluations are already out of date, and really badly so. So what we think we know about AI is already in the past. The current tools are spectacularly better. They are connected to the internet. They've got access to way more data than before, and they have improved their capability to think and respond. Therefore, the chances of it coming up or making up stuff or completely misinterpreted what it finds is much, much lower. And this is changing drastically every 2 or 3 months. Every time ChatGPT releases a new model, it is 100 years ahead of the previous model. And in order to keep up, it's very, very difficult to keep up with this. And this is not compatible with any sort of academic publishing schedule. So anybody who's doing research in these areas is impossible to keep up, because by the time you wrote and published something, even on a blog post, right? By the time you got it out there, it's out of date. So I'm keeping retesting the new versions of the same tools on a continuous loop to see how they respond. They respond way better. So I am less concerned about hallucinations and mistakes now than I was a year ago or 2 years ago. The second part of this is when the students talk to each other, most of the time, they don't know what they're talking about. How many times have you been approached by a student that says, oh, can you help me out? I didn't understand something about the assessment because Jane that I met in the lift said that we need to submit it in a stone tablet and it needs to be delivered directly in your hands while you're having breakfast at home. Is that true? To which you tell them, are you crazy? But it's written down on your instructions. I've been telling you in class like 100 times. Why Jane has kind of lost her mind and is telling you crazy stuff in the lift. I mean, think about it for a second. This is the type of interaction we're having with the students. So the level of misunderstanding, lack of engagement, and lack of understanding that exists within the student population way exceeds any sort of mistake or hallucination the AI is going to make. So if anything, especially if we're talking about first-year students, you got much better chances of getting useful feedback from peer review from an AI bot than you would if you were asking another student or if the students were having peer groups discussing these things themselves. So the risk is there. The question is, how do we balance risk from reward? I'm facing an environment where formative assignment is difficult, both because the uptake is low and because our response rate and ability to offer these opportunities is limited because of resource limitations. With that in mind, I am willing to take the risk of not offloading, but using the AI to support formative and peer review opportunities for the students. And I think this isn't, of course, a complete solution to problem number 3, but it is a contribution to the solution to the problem of poor assessment in student performance. That's what I like to tell myself anyway. And I think if you, so this is problem number 3. If you have a look at the QR code on this screen, then it's going to take you to an example of Notebook LM that I was discussing previously, that is offering in a podcast version a snippet of some of the learning content that we were trying to share with the students. Now, we are coming close to our final problem, which is problem number 4. Right? What is problem number 4? Problem number 4 is you guys. You know who I'm talking about. You don't have the time. You got too many things to do. You're tired. You're working weekends. Yeah? Is that the case? Who in here feels tired? We all seem to be in the UK, but in case anybody's overseas, it's nearly 1 o'clock, well into your lunchtime. So who is feeling tired already on a Wednesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? I am. That's why I'm drinking so much coffee. What are you guys doing? Everybody's sitting on top of an espresso machine or something. We're tired. We're overworked. And, if anybody from management is listening, they don't pay us enough either. We don't have enough time for student support. The students want 24/7 engagement. Anybody here gets emails from the students at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday? I don't get it. I don't get what's going on. And, I'm not talking about people who might be in a foreign jurisdiction for the distance learning programs. I'm talking about people who I know are in London. So do they kind of finish binge watching Netflix and then at 3 o'clock in the morning, they're thinking, when's the assessment due? You know what? Instead of going onto Blackboard and finding this out in 3 seconds, why don't I email Yanis about it? Yeah? And I get emails at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. Now, that is annoying when it happens, but even if they send you an email within working hours, you might find it difficult to respond because you simply have so many things to do, or you're in class, or you're just overwhelmed by it all. Also, it could be that your university has fired all the admin staff, so now you have to do all the admin work and all the process work and all the background work on top of your actual work. Yeah? Now, can we use, so that's the problem, I think, kind of grossly defined already. Can we use AI as a solution? Yes, we can. And I tried this and it's crazy, but it works. So if you scan this QR code on this screen, you're going to see what? You're going to see me, but not me. You're going to see me as an avatar. And the me avatar knows everything I know and then some. Because it's been told it's me, so it looked me up, and then it's been fed a knowledge base with all the stuff that I have to do in relation to this particular cohort of students. So that version of me, the online avatar, can be available on a Zoom call on demand. So you can actually connect onto Blackboard and click the button that says talk to AI Yanis, and I pop up and I'm just kind of sitting there in the Zoom call waiting for you to ask me questions. And when you ask me questions, I actually have relevant answers. This is a jazzed up version of an AI support bot. Have you guys talked to any bots lately? Have you called your broadband provider, your web provider, your bank, your car insurance? Anybody that you've called on the phone lately is likely to be an AI bot. No, it isn't easy to tell. I had library support on a call the other day, and I couldn't tell whether it was real or not. And I asked them, are you real? And they said, yes, I'm a real person. I was like, prove it. Prove it that you're a real person. What's the last thing you ate? But really, they have gotten so good that when we are on the phone with customer support for whatever it is that we're trying to do, it's very difficult to tell whether it's a real person or a bot. The same can be done at uni. And you know what? the top up is the presentational element. Watch that video. I kid you not. The student is going to have a different experience if the avatar is the avatar of their actual tutor. So it's not like connect and talk to the library chatbot or connect and talk to ChatGPT that is trained on the university's data. It's going to be connect and talk to your personal tutor. Connect and talk to the person that's running the class that is trained on data that that person knows or should handle. And I'm not saying that this is going to subcontract your role entirely, right? So if anybody here is thinking, whoops, that stuff is going to get us fired. If the university hears about this, they're going to make an avatar of us and then going to fire us and keep the avatar to do the classes. Well, they might, but I don't think it's going to get that far. This is to deal with the predictable and the mundane that the students are emailing you at 3 o'clock on the Sunday. People are emailing me in the middle of the night to ask me when the deadline is, to ask me what the word count is, to ask me whether they can have an extension. This is all stuff that the bot can answer better than me because I have to look it up. The bot already knows. They're not emailing me at 3 o'clock in the morning to discuss the nature of reality or to discuss, some kind of intricate point about a case or the statement of a judge. They never do. They always email to ask stuff that are mundane, predictable, and perfectly catered for by an AI bot. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The answer to problem number 4, that we don't have enough time or resources to offer adequate student support. The answer is we can use the AI bots either in a generic sense or in a personalized sense to have an AI reflection of ourselves to offer this level of customer. I know you cringe when I say this, but to offer a good level of customer service. Yeah. And I think that is going to go a long way in improving what? What did your manager say? Who's whispering in the background? NSS. You heard it. This kind of automation can help improve your NSS returns. Tell this to your managers, they're going to get excited, then they're going to sign on to those tools. Isn't it beautiful how this wraps around in achieving university objectives on top of everything else? So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have presented 4 problems, and I have suggested 4 different AI-based solutions. Okay. Now, by the way, if you want a copy of those slides, so you got like a copy of all the QR codes and all the rest of it, you can scan the QR code on the screen. In case you're wondering, is this my bedroom? It isn't. It is an AI-produced bedroom, of course. I asked Adobe Firefly to produce a student bedroom in the style of the 90s. And that's what it came up with. I wish my bedroom was like this when I was a student. It looked like a cell because I started at the University of Kent in one of the colleges, and it did look like we were in prison. This is all coming out of my own personal experience. I have been accused in the past of being a very negative individual. So I have to say, my experience of academia as it exists in the moment is a little bit compromised. So I see a lot of problems and I don't see a great deal of solutions. So I'm speaking from my perspective. I don't know about you guys, but I personally have these 4 problems. I'm dealing with disengagement in class. I'm dealing with disengagement from resources. I'm dealing with poor assessment performance, and I don't have the time to offer the support that the students think they need. Yeah? So I'm trying to utilize the new tools that have become available to try and address those problems. The chatbot itself usually comes through integrating an existing large language model like ChatGPT. This is not something that you can do privately because this comes at a cost that might be quite significant depending on the number of users. If you want to create an AI avatar representation of yourself, this might be possible to do at limited or no cost for testing purposes. For instance, the streaming avatar virtual Yanis that I created, let me write this down. It's with Heygen and it's called Streaming Avatar. I got this as a trial at zero cost because for a short period of time, it was in beta testing. It is not available for free anymore. Now you have to pay for it. But since I got it when it was being tested, I managed to do it for free. There are some other stuff that you can do. You can create like a series of avatars that you can use for pre-recorded content. Like a great deal of that is still available for free. If you go through the resources on my website, you're going to be able to see this. So I've got this website, the Glintis, at Glintis. That's the handle for the YouTube website where I do the AI experiments. So I've got the test of various tools over there that you can have a look at. And also on my main YouTube channel, I've got quite a lot of the educational applications of these things. I mean, most of the QR codes on your screens are going to take you there. Now, I was debating whether I should bring in some of those tools and demonstrate live, but then I thought, because I'm not familiar with the platform that we're using, a lot of the time when you're trying to share screen and present something live, it doesn't work. And since we only have an hour, I didn't want to spend half of the hour trying to get stuff to work. If we were able to do a physical, in the real world workshop where we have a room booked for ourselves for like 3 hours, then we would be able to test that functionality. Everybody can come in there with a tablet and their computer, and we can all log on and we can try and do it both individually and on the screen for all together. I think that would be super useful for everybody, but I think it's probably best delivered as a real life experience as opposed to something that we can stream online. For the stuff that can be effectively recorded and then produced as a video, those things, I've got quite a lot of content on my YouTube channels already to help people get on top of this functionality. But let me know what you think. Does this look like a great deal of work? So does this look unfamiliar enough for you to be afraid to try it? Are you thinking, this kind of looks good if somebody has done it, if they know what they're doing, but the learning curve would be too steep for me to attempt to do it in my own class? That it actually becomes quite easy. Actually, on the ALT blog, I've got a blog post that they published recently where I've done, it's a photo avatar. And I'm talking about that, and I'm talking about the AI functionality. And then we've got a Q&A attached to the blog where we discuss, some of these things. One of the issues that we address is how difficult is this. It's in fact a lot easier than you would think. There's always some process in getting on top of the tools and understanding the functionality. But if you're already using ChatGPT or something similar, you'll get there, right? They are really helping people get on top in ways that, it wasn't possible in the past. If you build a Heygen avatar and you provide the knowledge base, then you are inputting the data into Heygen, but they do say in their terms and conditions that this data is not retained. This data is only personal to you and your avatar, limited to your account, and it doesn't transmit anywhere else. To the extent that Heygen or another avatar is linked to an LLM to enable it to discuss, then it's drawing this information from ChatGPT or, Gemini or whatever LLM it's connected to. If you were inputting data into an LLM yourself, then if you're concerned about anything that might be in this data, you need to think about do you have an enterprise license or do you have a subscription, which gives you the opportunity to segregate this data from the rest of the LLM, or are you usually inputting in a free version that then might use this data to train the LLM further? Look, I'm not that concerned about the data, because I never got to the point that I'm really giving anything that is particularly private or contains personal data or is particularly controversial. So the idea is to kind of use the functionality of the tools for really mundane processes, for stuff that are freely available anyway. That's why if you find something that somebody has used that works and they demonstrate how they used it, that is a safe place to start. There are lots of other platforms that I'm testing for AI avatars, but I'm talking about Heygen because that's the one I'm most familiar with. So if you're looking for something that, I've tried and I think it works, then the safest thing to do is to get started with that one.